talk to us about the Good Friday Agreement, the 20-year anniversary, and whether you ever thought it would hold this long.
When I announced the agreement, I said that it was an historic achievement, which it was. But I said on the same day that by itself it did not guarantee peace, political stability, or reconciliation. I recognized then that there would be future decisions, difficult decisions to be made by future leaders. And as you know, right now they're having a great deal of difficulty. The independent power-sharing government in Northern Ireland has not functioned for over a year. My hope is that the current leaders will summon the courage and wisdom that the leaders back in 1998 summoned when, after a lifetime of conflict, they took the dramatic and difficult and dangerous step of entering into an agreement for peace, which has largely held over that 20-year period.
Senator Mitchell, what is the one ingredient which tips the scales from arguments and stalemate to some place where you can move forward with something?
I think there'll be lots of books written about it. There already have been. I think the judgment of history will be that the political leaders of Northern Ireland and the people of Northern Ireland had the courage and the vision to summon that strength and reach an agreement ending centuries of conflict, even though it was very difficult for them to do in highly politically charged and personally dangerous circumstances. So in the end, I think it was political leadership.
We'll get to Brexit in a moment and the particular situation that Northern Ireland and Ireland in general is causing, which is one of the sticking points for moving forward now. Yeah. But I do want to ask you about US relations with some difficult countries, if you like, Russia, for example, North Korea. What should the US approach be, given that we have a whole different style of leadership now? And we just got the news yesterday that Vladimir Putin will be visiting. Is that a good thing?
Let's agree that it would be a good thing if the United States and Russia had good relations. That's what President Trump repeats and says often. Nobody disagrees with that. But let's also understand that the cause of the current tension was illegal action taken by Russia at the direction of President Putin in the Crimea and in the Ukraine, for which he was appropriately sanctioned by the United States, by the European Union, and other countries. So let's not lose sight of the fact that that's the core of the problem of disagreements that we have. In addition to that, the Russian actions with respect to our election process represent an infringement on our sovereignty and really an attempt to undermine our democracy, and not just the United States, but also Western Europe. So the answer is not to say we just want to be friends with Russia. The answer is for President Putin to change his approach, to end these illegal actions, stop trying to undermine democracy, and then, of course, yes, we should be friends.
If you can't get an agreement like that, though, can you take two approaches at once? Can you welcome somebody into your country while having a major issue with them? And the same with North Korea. Can you sort of look the other way on the fact that it's not complying with certain requests, so-called, and welcome the fact that there is going to be some kind of summit and maybe a thawing of relations, at least between North and South Korea, if not North Korea and the US? Well,
as the former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin said, you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. So I don't disagree with the notion of talking. The question is what is said at such meetings. When the president called Putin after his election, he praised him, congratulated him, no mention of the fact because it was a completely rigged election in which any opponents were kept off the ballot, and there has been a campaign of violence against people who rise up as potential opponents. So if the president meets with Putin, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think, though, he has to stop this fawning, praising approach to Putin and speak frankly and directly about the differences between our countries that, as I said, originate in illegal action taken by the Russian government at the direction of Putin.
Senator Mitchell, on the Kim Jong-un potential meeting between the two leaders, does Trump have more to lose than gain from this meeting?
Well, I think negotiating is the right approach. Both the United States and South Korea will, I hope, be in unison on their approach to these negotiations. And My only question is whether it makes sense for the president to meet with Kim Jong-un before the negotiations begin. Historically, our leaders have taken a more prudent course of having negotiations begun, seeing that there's progress made, and then coming in at the end and wrapping it up. I still think that's the best approach, although I don't agree with the president's action of starting out with a meeting. I hope it is successful, and I hope it proves to begin a process of negotiations that produces a good result.
Senator, can I come back to Brexit and refer back to Northern Ireland and Ireland? The border issue clearly hasn't been addressed. Could it derail the Brexit process? And some say if there's a hard border, it could tear apart the whole peace process. What are your expectations when it comes to solving the border question?
Well, keep in mind that both the United Kingdom and the European Union have already publicly committed to there not being a hard border. But as you find out when you get into these negotiations, it's not too difficult to make promises. The difficulty is in doing what you say you're going to do, and they have made that commitment. They have so far been unable to figure out a way to do it, given the vastly conflicting claims that they have. I think it's a very serious issue, not just for Northern Ireland, not just for the United Kingdom, but for the Republic of Ireland. Ireland's economy is deeply integrated into that of the United Kingdom. A hard border will have adverse effects on the UK, and I personally believe that while Brexit was democratically taken decision and must be respected, it will prove to be a catastrophic error for the UK. But the real victims will be the people in Ireland, because the economic effect on Ireland, a much smaller country, very dependent on trade into and with the UK, will be very adversely affected. So there's a lot at stake here, not just dealing with the border with Northern Ireland, but on the effects of the Republic of Ireland itself.